Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you to episode number 3 of BoomBox Talk. Of course, I'm your host, LB. Thank you for joining the BoomBox Guru channel, man. All right, man. So today's episode, man, we're gonna talk about one of my favorite metal bands, known as Anthrax. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about Anthrax, man, on this episode, and we're gonna discuss: does Anthrax do they really deserve to be in the Big Four? And this is something that I really been a topic that I really been wanting to touch on for a minute. And I decided, since I'm doing this whole boombox talk thing, I thought it would be a perfect topic for a video to do, man. So we're gonna get right into this, man. Anthrax, to give you a bit of a short history, man, they're one of the big four thrash metal, along with Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer. And these four bands, they're considered the four biggest bands of thrash metal. Anthrax was they were one of the first East Coast thrash metal bands, along with Overkill and Nuclear Assault. And I don't know what it is, man, but I don't know if this is something that's been happening for years, but it seems like in the past maybe few years, maybe the decade, it kind of feels like it's the cool thing now to like hate on Anthrax. That's just the way I feel. Now, and the reason why I say this, because I understand that for a lot of people, they're like the least favorite band amongst the big four. I understand that. And, to each his own, man. You like what you like. So it's your own personal preference of what you like and what you enjoy, man. But, I've seen comments on YouTube videos pertaining to like the big four, pertaining to thrash metal in general. And people, they say stuff like Anthrax shouldn't be in the big four, that they should be switched out with another band or something to that nature, man. And here's my opinion on that. I think that Anthrax deserves their spot in the big four, because whether you hate them or whether you love them, it doesn't really matter, man. To me, they earned their accolades to be in the big four, because at the end of the day, they were one of the biggest bands during that period, during that whole heyday of thrash metal in the 1980s. They were one of the biggest bands, and they sold a lot of records. They had a huge fan base back then, and they still continue to have a big fan base. Anytime I go to metal shows, I still see people wearing Anthrax t-shirts or having Anthrax patches on their battle vest and everything of that nature, man. So I don't really understand where all this like kind of hate for Anthrax is coming from. I'm starting to think maybe it's just an internet thing or something. Like there's a certain generation of metal fans on the internet that have kind of like generated this, man. Because at least in my daily life, at least in the personal experience that I've had in the metal community, I don't see where people really dislike Anthrax all that much. But it's something that I really see a lot on the internet. And some of you may think I'm being biased, because I did say that they were one of my favorite metal bands. But at the end of the day, man, just because they're one of my favorite metal bands, they're not blindly one of my favorite metal bands. I'm not somebody that thinks that everything they've put out has been great or whatever. But I just feel that people kind of get the whole Big Four thing misconstrued or misconcepted, because the Big Four is not about the four biggest, best bands of thrash metal. It's about the four biggest bands. These were the bands that sold the most records in thrash metal. They were also the first bands who got signed to major labels, and they had a huge influence on the genre. And that's not to negate what the other bands who weren't a part of that particular circle, because Exodus. While Exodus may not have ever sold as many records as the Big Four, they definitely have a huge influence on the thrash metal genre. That's no denying that. And I've heard a lot of people talking about replacing Anthrax with Exodus. Well, I don't agree with that, because I think Anthrax deserves their spot. If anything, you should make it the Big Five and add Exodus into that. Yeah, they may not have sold the records that the other four bands have, but they definitely have a huge influence on the genre, man. Like there's thrash metal bands today where you can hear that Exodus influence in their sound. But Anthrax was they still are a huge, man, but I'm mainly talking about in retrospect, man, back in the 80s, man, they were huge, man. They were huge. And I know people personally in my life who were of the age when Anthrax came on the scene. And I've had a lot of people tell me that Spreading the Disease was actually the first thrash metal record that they heard. I've heard a lot of people say that. I've even heard people say that Among the Living was the first thrash metal album that they heard. So, to some degree, man, they were a gateway band for a lot of fans to get into thrash metal, for a lot of metal fans to get into that genre. And not only that, but they were also the band, the first band to be referred to as thrash metal. On their first album, Fistful of Metal, you know, one of the most popular songs from that record called Metal, Thrash, and Mad. I think it was a writer for Kerrang! Magazine. I believe he referred to the band as thrash metal, as in reference to that song, Metal, Thrash, and Mad. But yeah, man, they deserve it, man. They sold a lot of records, man. Like, it doesn't matter whether you like them or not. They definitely deserve to be in that category. They deserve it, man. They sold a lot of records, man, and they were big. I do understand that around the State of Euphoria era, there was a bit of a backlash because fans felt that the band was getting a little bit too cartoonish. And Scott even discussed that in his book, that he himself and the other members felt that they were getting a little bit too cartoonish. He said that it was one of the videos they did for that album where I think it was Dan Spitz. He had on Tweety Bird shorts and stuff like that. So I understand that backlash, but to me, just because you don't like a band doesn't mean they don't deserve, you know, the accolades that they earned. You know what I mean? And I've even heard people talk about replacing them with one of the German thrash bands, which, you know, I'm gonna be nice about this. I totally do not agree with that. Why? I mean, come on. Where's the continuity in that? Where's the consistency in that? Why would you take out an American thrash band and put a German thrash band in with 3 other American thrash bands? That doesn't even make any sense to me, man. And not to mention German thrash, those bands, they're in a league of their own. They are way more heavier and way more extreme than American thrash. I mean, like Creator, Destruction, Sodom, Tankard. Even though I'm not all that familiar with Tankard, man. I know some people refer to it as the big 3 of thrash, but anyway, the 3 bands I named, like Creator, Sodom, and Destruction, man, those dudes got heavy. Those dudes are really heavy. Really heavy, very brutal thrash metal, man. Borderline death metal, some cases black metal territory, man. Like, they're in a league of their own. Like, that doesn't even match up, in my opinion, man. I've even heard some people talk about put Sepultura in that category, but you can't just sum up Sepultura as a thrash metal band. Honestly, you can't, because Sepultura has been through so many different eras in their career, man. You can't really just sum them up as a thrash metal band. And I don't think that's what they're mainly known for anyway. I think they're just known for being a great metal band, honestly. But yeah, man, come on, man. I know I'm probably gonna catch some heat from making this video, but I mean, I just had to get this off my chest, man. Like, why so much hate for Anthrax? Yes, I understand that compared to the other 3 bands in the Big 4, their subject matter was a bit like, you know, a lot of their stuff tended to be based around comic books, and they had a sense of humor. You know, they never took themselves too serious. But that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about Anthrax, though, is because while they may not have taken themselves too serious, man, they're still great musicians, man. And there's always been like a fun energy about their sound, man. I remember when I saw them for the first time live at Slayer, when Slayer kicked off their farewell tour and they came to my neck of the woods. Dude, their set was awesome. They had one of the best sets, you know, opening up for Slayer, man. I mean, I remember when they came out and performed, bro. I didn't sit down the whole time, bro. It was just so awesome, man. Every song, Antisocial, man, Madhouse, I believe they played. I know they did joints off of Among the Living, but Got the Time, man. All those songs that they performed, man, it was just a fun energy, man. And and let me tell you something. Everybody that was out there, everybody that was in that is in that venue, everybody was there, man. They were pumped. They were excited to see Anthrax. Everybody was. I mean, we even where me and my friends where we were sitting at, man, like people were like up. They were pumped, man. They was loving Anthrax, man. So I just don't really understand where all this hate for Anthrax is coming from, man. Like, no, man, they leave them alone. They should be in the Big Four. They earned it. They earned it, man. You know what I'm saying? They formed simultaneously at the same time as the other bands, except for Megadeth. You know, like Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax all formed in 1981, and they put in the work. They put in the work. They paid their dues, man, and they became one of the most influential bands in thrash metal, man. I mean, they sold a lot of records, and they were one of the bands that helped bring thrash metal to a wider audience. I mean, come on, they were one of the big bands on the Clash of the Titans tour. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, you can't sit there and tell me that Anthrax doesn't have a fan base and that they don't deserve the spot that they're in. I mean, I heard a lot of criticisms about Anthrax. People complain about Joey Belladonna's vocals and stuff like that. Hey, so maybe his vocals isn't for you, man, but that's another thing. I think Anthrax is one of the first thrash metal bands that actually had a singer who could sing. Because most thrash metal bands, their vocalists really weren't great singers, man. But Anthrax was one of the first bands to do that. And I know that puts a lot of people off because, you know, Joey Belladonna, he was more of like a hard rock guy. You know, he was more like a Van Halen type. And he kind of brought that into their sound. But I feel like Belladonna fit well with the band. I mean, come on. They put out some great records, man. Spreading the Disease, Among the Living, State of Euphoria, Persistence in Time, man. And it is what it is, man. I just don't get it, man. You know, I feel that they definitely, I feel that every band in the Big Four earned their spot and they should be where they are. That's the way I feel, man. I don't think it should be any switching out for anything. I don't think it should be. You know, it just is what it is, man. That's just how I feel about the matter, man. Like, you know, Anthrax, they earned that spot. That's where they should be. That's where they should be, man. So that's all that I really wanted to talk about, man. I just wanted to kind of get that off my chest because it's something that I think about on and off a lot of times, man. But you know, but like I said, this is just purely my opinion. You know, those of you that's watching, y'all may have a different opinion. So definitely hit that comment box and give me your opinions. Let me know what you think, whether you agree or disagree. But that's it for this episode of BoomBox Talk. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, hit that thumbs up and give me a like. It helps with the algorithm. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit that bell so you'll be notified anytime I drop new content. I want to thank all my new subscribers, old subscribers, everybody that's been taking the time to watch the videos. I really do appreciate it. And as always, hope everybody has a blessed day, a blessed week, and love, peace, and music. Peace out.